Hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the odd camera angle. I'm going to be standing over here in just a second, as soon as I stand up. And welcome to the show. So, yeah, I can be seen. Good. Okay. I'm going to try my darndest to be able to read your comments as you guys comment. Things are a little different in the studio right now. For we have out on the table the promised miniature setup for tonight's Let's Play Twilight 2000. And I sure am excited about that. And I hope you guys are too. I hope my audio is coming in loud and clear also. I was having a host of technical difficulties because, of course, I was. I have had nonstop technical difficulties, which I will tell you about after we have a little bit of a shoot 'em up with some Twilight 2000. So we have miniatures. We have armored vehicle miniatures, and we have a little bit of infantry miniatures, which may or may not be needed. We may have some hot infantry on infantry action, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So I have the main studio cam over there pointing at the table, and I'm going to switch to that in just a second. Audio is good and clear, says Joshua Garlock. Thank you very much, Joshua. Just a couple of quick notes, one of which I'm pretty happy about, one of which I'm really excited about. Now, full disclosure, I absolutely positively want this stream, this channel that I have here on YouTube, to hit the point where I can monetize it, and I'm very, very close. That's not been the reason I've been pushing to get to 1,000 subs. That's not the primary reason. Because I know even if tomorrow they said, hey, guess what? The ceiling is exactly where you're at right now. Or the entry point is exactly where you're at right now. You can switch it on. I'll make tenths of a cent per video. Okay. I'm not on verge of becoming like the PewDiePie of old school and out of print role-playing games. That's not fixing to happen. But every little bit helps. Okay. I'm on an utter shoestring budget here. You guys help a lot. Okay. I have a whole raft of patrons. Yes, your videos are coming. I promise. But yeah, and if you want to support the show, I'm sorry, I'm kind of working on a little bit of weirdness here. This monitor does not have a good. There we go. All right. If you want to support the show, they're scrolling across the bottom is the Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. But the YouTube monetization thing comes with X amount of hours watched. You guys have hit that goal. You guys have come back, watched videos, recommended videos, reposted videos, been in live streams, which is 99.99999% of what I do. Although I may change that up. Not stop doing live streams, but I might start doing some pre-recorded content on top of that. But we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, you guys have just been instrumental in getting there, and I'm so grateful to everybody in my audience. I was like, yeah, last time it said I was, a couple 100 hours out, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. That was not like everybody watches all of the videos I've been doing since I've been streaming primarily to YouTube for an hour. That was lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of content watch. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. This is literally just getting to 1,000 subs now, and I can say, hey, I'm giving to you guys. Get back to me. To YouTube, that is. You guys, of course. But even if that wasn't happening, even if I had 2 strikes for copyrighted material and 500 hours of engagement instead of the 4,000 that they require, and even if the only up was having 1,000 subs on the channel, we would still do that con. That is still the primary goal. And I love you guys all for going out there and for saying, hey, you like old school role-playing games? You like hearing TSR history? Do you like seeing a grown man cry? Go to Bill's channel. Go watch The Dungeon Delver. So thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. As the meme says, it's happening. So, what's been going on? So, as I said, we have miniatures out here, and I'm going to show them to you. Wait. No. Click back on this tab. Don't go read Facebook. It'll wait. Don't go look at somebody's Insta and just listen to me. Come back. We're going to see the minis soon. All right? Just calm down. But, as I've said, the birthday fairy brought me a resin 3D printer. Now, resin 3D printers and FDM, or filament 3D printers, are very different beasts. They're 3D printers that build things one layer at a time out of a plasticine material through a computer-controlled, like, CNC machine. That's it. That is where all similarities end. They're totally different beasts. All reliable over here. My Anycubic Mega Zero 2.0 can more or less get the job done. It depends on the job I'm asking of it. Greetings, Mobius. And by the way, I apologize for doing this. I'm not dabbing or anything. I just, literally, the computer monitors are down here. I'm standing up just because of the table arrangement and the camera arrangement. I could have made it kind of slightly more normal, but it's, anyway. So I made one of the iconic vehicles of Twilight 2000. I've told you about it, the Lab 25. It was an experimental vehicle. The Army looked at putting in production back in the 1980s. The designers of Twilight 2000 said, hey, that's cool. That thing's going to come out for the Army. So by the year 1995, when we set our fictional war starting, it will be as common as a Jeep, except it wasn't and it didn't, and, all sorts of things. So, for the longest time, there were no 3D files of it, because who wants a model of some... Literally, they made one Lab 75 or HS or HVLT. Was it HSL? High survivability light tank. Anyway, or high survivability tracked vehicle. That's right. HSTV-L. They made one. But wargamers, being dorks like we are, of course, everybody says, hey, if we're going to do an alternate future, how about one where the Army has this thing? And slowly but surely, it's kind of come back into the consciousness of at least tabletop gamers. But there were still no good 3D models of it until there was. I downloaded it. I printed it. It is a 1/64 scale, which is true 25 millimeters. So it more or less fits tabletop miniatures available today. And I was like, awesome. And that's when I got the idea to do a Let's Play of Twilight 2000. Greetings, Connor Bell. I will get to your comments. I promise. I will check out your comments. So don't feel as though you can't say anything if I missed them. You know what? Let me bring this window. Let me see if I can drag this window over to this monitor, which is the reason I have it. Hope this will be archived. Have to roll in about 20 minutes. Thanks for doing this, though. Yes, Connor, yes, all my videos, you can watch them on YouTube. I never delete my live streams unless things just go terribly wrong. I've deleted to date one, and that was when I was strictly doing them on Facebook. So you would literally have to find me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, and dig through almost 2 years of my posts to find the blank spot where there should be a live stream. And trust me, you're not missing anything. Anyway, back to the light tank. I download the model. It was like $5, and what a good model kit costs $20-$30 today. That's like $5 for a model kit that I can print as many of as I want, and in whatever detail I want, and at whatever size I want. I mean, my God, if you told 9-year-old me that, I'd have had a baby. But anyway, to get back to it, so I printed one out. And then I said, I'm going to do a Let's Play so I can have this cool tank model. And then I'll print out a T-72 or a T-90 rather, Soviet tank, and a BMP-1, which is a Soviet armored personnel carrier with a autocannon and a missile launcher, and it'll be cool. So I printed out the T-90 tank. Oh, Reliable over here decided to put supports, that is, print more plastic around it to make sure parts didn't sag or fall off while it was printing, everywhere. And in trying to separate those, I broke the hull. I mean, I split it into pieces. And it bent as it broke. So short of heating it over a stove eye, and then there's still the issue of getting and then gluing it back together. There's still the issue of getting the rest of the support off. Think of old model kits, the sprues. That's kind of sort of, but not really, but it's the same energy. So there I was. And I said, well, okay, I'm not, you know what? I'll just do it on a digital screen. I'll do it on a digital screen, and I'll do it like in Roll20 or something. And then I said, no, my description says miniatures and terrain. And by God, there's going to be miniatures and terrain. So I stayed up late last night. First, I resized the Lab 75. I made it 1/100. And I tracked down some easy to print BMP models. And it took me forever because I wanted these things to print as one unit. And that was a mistake. I wanted them to just print and be ready, and then I'd slap some green paint on them and do a zenithal highlight of some light green paint and wash them dark and throw them on the table, and they'd be ready. Well, a few things happen. And I'm skipping the story about the resin printer fiasco, which I'll get to in a minute. The 3D printer did as I asked for the most part. But once again, it went berserk with supports. So from a kind of sort of top-down view, the 3 armored vehicles that you guys are going to be looking at in just a minute are pretty well done. From about, I guess you would say, their waist down, they're just solid chunks of plastic. I snipped and I cut and I pried, and I was basically in the process of destroying these 1/100th scale tanks that I had gone through all the effort to print up. And then it was 4 o'clock. And I had to go get stuff for supper. I had to tend to my doggy, who his eyes are still messed up. He goes back to the vet tomorrow. And if they tell me that he needs another expensive round of treatments, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's not a matter of frustration. It's a matter of the cost. But anyway, so I printed the tanks. I trimmed off enough sprue so that they don't look like complete ass, and they are what's on the table tonight. But Bill, you might ask, I thought you said you had a resin printer that could do stuff like this, and it would be magically beautiful and better, and you would be right. Let's go back to the faraway days of, was it yesterday afternoon? Yeah, it must have been yesterday afternoon when I said, I'm going to set up my resin printer and I'm going to print that test chess piece file and everything's going to be hunky-dory. I followed all the instructions. I set the printer on this table here and I poured in the resin and I had everything all set up and I clicked print and then it started and it ran for about an hour and a half. And I said, okay, I'm going to lean down. I'm going to squint my eyes and look through that UV filter because the resin dries when you blast it with UV light, which UV light is everywhere. So you don't want that, right? So let's take a gander. Let's hook the peepers on it, as Derek from Vice Grip Garage says. And I'm leaning down in there. And the build plate, which is the thing that the prints stick to, it's dipping up and down in the resin. There ain't no chess piece on it. Nothing. And I'm like, oh, did it fall off? Because that can happen. Bed adhesion, whether you're using an FDM printer or a liquid resin printer, bed adhesion is a thing. Okay, all right. You know what? Let's just stop this. We'll just stop on this. I take the lid off the printer. I move the arm, the boom for the print bed up, and I realize in my enthusiasm to get started and I had everything sorted out, except I didn't take the manufacturer installed peel away plastic sheet off of the print bed. There was basically a thin piece of plastic, which is designed to stop anything from adhering to it because it's there to protect the printer while it's coming to your house or sitting on a store shelf, had been dunking into the resin just with nothing coming off of it. Now, I did print something, but it was stuck to the inside bottom of the tank on what they call the FEP filter or FEP glass, which is not glass. It's a thin, like think of like a cheap phone protector screen, just like thin plastic. So I said, dang it. All right. Let's get the funnel. Let's get this cleaned up and just start anew. So I start trying to peel, and I should point something out. I have water washable resin. I have a printer that has an activated charcoal filter for lower odor. My room stinks like an MIT dormitory at this point. I was getting dizzy from the fumes. Now, I got enough of that stuff on my skin. My skin didn't burn. It didn't crack. I didn't get blisters. But I'll tell you something. The fumes off that, even if everything had gone right, I would never do that again until I built a fume hood for it, which is a ventilated gadget where you have an air conditioning duct hose that goes out of your house, which is my next plan before I try and print anything. So as I'm sitting there woozily trying to clean up and trying to peel this thing off, I peel it off and I drip resin everywhere. Somehow I managed to not get it on my clothes. Somehow. But it's on my table, it's on my floor. So I get that peeled off, dispose of it. Then I now have a tank full of resin. The little vat that the bill plate dips down into and comes up and dips down into and comes up. So I got to carefully unbolt that, slide it off. First, cleaning all the resin off the printer itself so it doesn't drip onto my screen. Get the paper funnel, put the paper funnel in the bottle, pour the tank. Then and only then realizing that the bottom of the paper funnel, the bottom quarter of the paper funnel, not just the tip, but in graduated slits, has filters. That is, it's mesh. It's not solid paper. It's a funnel liner. And the, I don't know how many milliliters or ounces or hectares or hogsheads of resin I just put in there. And it's now leaking out the sides of the funnel, running down the bottle onto my table. So I put my hand around it using my bare, not gloved, bare hand as a funnel to keep the liquid going into the bottle. I clean up my hands, but now I have two roughly silver dollar pancake sized puddles of resin that have almost immediately soaked through the green tablecloth that you're going to see in a few minutes into the wood of my table. Which itself would be irritating because I've spilled paint on this in a few places and it bugs me, but I can't do anything about it. This table is unfinished, by the way. It's the smell. It's the smell. So I set about to attempting to clean this up. And knowing that that was going to be the smell, I said, ain't no way, ain't no how. I got everything cleaned up. I got the screen cleaned up, or I got the FEP film cleaned up. I didn't damage. Somehow I managed to not damage the printing screen. That is the LCD screen that shines upward. Somehow I managed to not do that. And I said as a side, the next mission for 3D printing is not an attempt to 3D print again. The next mission for 3D printing is to build a fume hood that will sit over the printer and blow the odors out of my house. So that was the fiasco of 3D printing this weekend. All right, that's enough of that. Are you guys ready to play some Twilight 2000? So, if you recall last week, we built a character. He is a sergeant. He is a tank commander. We rolled to see what vehicle his team would have. I said, okay, there's 7 of them. I'll just say it's him and 6 other members of whatever is left of his unit in the U.S. Army. And lo and behold, we rolled a 17. We have the LAV 75, the HSTV-L. Now, the scenario that I've created for this is, Mobius says, and I thought my day was bad. That's quite the chain of events. Yes. I told them backwards. The 3D printing with old Reliable here was the first one, but anyway. So, a few relevant things about what is about to happen. When encountering bands of NPCs in Twilight 2000, the encounter generator categorizes them as either novice, experienced, veteran, or elite. And this is even easier than, AD&D NPCs. Novice, skill level 20. Any skills you wish to assign, any skill checks you want to do, their base is 20%. They have a base 20% chance on a normal roll of succeeding at anything. Novice would be potentially villagers in a particularly isolated village trying to defend themselves, or maybe refugees from a city that's been destroyed. They don't know how to farm. Experienced. Skill level 40. Oh, and there are attribute levels and coolness added to them also. Now, novice have an attribute level of 12. Experienced have an attribute level of 10. Veterans have an attribute level of 9, and elite have an attribute level of 8. What this means is, if you have to check something against an attribute or calculate something based on an attribute, you use that. The elite are more experienced, but they're worn down. The novice is fresh and green, but has no experience. And finally, there's their coolness, again, ascending from novice to elite. Coolness of 6, experience, coolness of 4, veteran, coolness of 2, and elite, coolness of 0. And what does coolness mean? Okay. Coolness divided by 2 equals, fractions rounding up, equals the number of hesitations that you will take in a combat round. A hesitation is a player potentially suffering from post-traumatic stress, being overwhelmed, oh God, it's happening again, kind of thing. And the higher level characters obviously suffer less. So, tonight, our boy is the lone man inside the Lav 75. See, a little secret about the HSTV-L is that all 3 stations are redundant. It can fight without the commander, or the gunner can detect targets without the commander. The commander can fight without the gunner. The driver can gun without the gunner and without the commander's detection. All of the controls are duplicated across all the stations in the tank. That was one of the promoted features of it. So, tonight, our character, and somebody gave him a name, and I don't remember what it was because I didn't put it on his little digital character sheet that I made, and I feel bad for having not done that. But tonight, he is single manning the Lav 75. Here's the scenario, but before I get to that, let's switch the camera over. I really should have all this on one monitor. And by the way, if you've been commenting on Facebook and I haven't seen it, I apologize. Hey, Randy. See there, Randy Buckness. Awesome guy. I'll tell you guys a Randy Buckness story when I'm in more of a mood. All right. So let's see. So there we go. Now, on my right, which I guess would be your left, there we go. Basically, over here in these woods, right here, is our Lav 75. He is concealed in a prepared fighting position. He knows through talking to locals that a Soviet armored company that is a BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicle and a T-90 tank and some, he doesn't know how many, infantry dismounts riding inside the BMP are coming. The Soviets know somewhere out there are American units. They're mopping up. Remember, the 5th Division has been destroyed. It's up to our commander and his small band of infantry located here to buy time for civilians, wounded, and infantry on foot to get across the Warta River, which is a few kilometers off in this direction. So he's about to do his thing. And overnight, he and his men worked tirelessly to build or to create a fighting position for the LAV. So it is in concealment. It is concealed and camouflaged. And the infantry have their own foxholes. They're represented by a single 25 millimeter figure, but this is 6 experienced infantry. I don't know if you guys can see that. That represents a stand of 6 experienced infantry. I am sorry, I didn't have any 1/100 figures printed up, and they would have looked awful printed on an FDM printer. So I have something that looks like I see what's hanging in front of the camera. Just a moment. Let me move that wire, guys. There we go. Okay. All right. So in a staggered echelon column around a bend that is off in this direction, and you guys can see that hopefully as I'm lighting them up with a laser. I'm not sure. Can you guys tell me, can you see the laser pointer, or is this completely futile on my part? So I see it just fine, but I don't know if it's showing up for you guys on your screens. Okay. Well, just let me know in the convo there if you see that, guys. So, LAV 75 in its fighting position, 2 enemies. They know Americans are out there, but they don't know how close they are. They don't know if they've made it to the Warta. The local Poles won't have anything to do with them. So they're getting very little information, and reconnaissance is, well, them. So here is the enemy order of battle. A BMP, an unknown number of infantry, and a T-90 main battle tank. The order of battle for the Blue Forces: 1 LAV 75, full stock of ammunition, 1 team of infantry with 1 M60D support machine gun, and 2 LAW rockets. Now, if you're wondering about scale, we are doing 1/100th scale, which means this table is about 500 meters across. This is, in modern tank fighting, knife fighting range. So, are you guys ready? Let's get it going. Again, the Soviets know that there are U.S. units nearby. So the tank commander, who is, we will say he is veteran, so he has a skill level of 50, is scanning. The infantry is in a prepared camouflage position. The LAV is in a prepared camouflage position. So it is difficult. There are 3 levels of skills. There's difficult, normal, and easy. Normal, you simply roll under your skill given various factors. Difficult, it's your skill divided by 2. Easy is your skill multiplied by 2. So our tank commander only has a 25% chance Wait, did I get that right? Did I get that right? Did I just stick my foot in it? Or is it skill divided by 10? Let's see. Because I want it to be right. Skill tests. I want to tell you guys right. Now, in case you're wondering, fuel is not going to be an issue during this fight other than it going boom. That's skill descriptions. If you know, go ahead and comment. I can't believe I'm just going blank on this. Well, we're just going to go with he's got a 25% chance with all things considered. He does not spot the tank. He does not spot the infantry. The BMP commander, well, he's experienced, so his skill base is only 40. He does not spot the tank. He does not spot the infantry. So, our tank commander knows that the largest threat as they come around the corner is the Soviet tank, not the armored personnel carrier. He has his team here with a couple of law rockets ready to deal if that thing gets close. But he's got to stop that T-90. So here's what he's going to do. He is going to use one of his actions. Now, his coolness is 4. So you divide that by 2, and that's the number of hesitations. He only hesitates twice in a 5-segment combat round. Each combat round is 5-segment. The highest skill goes first. So, I'm sorry I keep yelling so. The BMP will move. And on this scale, in case you're wondering, 1 meter is about 10 centimeters. The BMP is moving very slowly and very carefully. He doesn't want to hit a vehicle mine. The BMP will move there. While this is going on, our tank is keeping his eye on the T-90. The T-90 closes up the distance somewhat because he doesn't want the BMP to get out of sight. Now, the way actions work in Twilight 2000 is the most experienced goes first. There's no initiative roll. It goes with the most experienced player or most experienced character, be it an NPC or a player character. So in this case, our LAV crewman is going to take the T-72 under fire. Now, I happen to know, because I measured it, it is short distance from here to the tank, short range. It is the short range bracket. So what does that mean? Now, you might think, oh, okay, so his large caliber gun, which we established last, is a 60. He has a 60 to hit. there are modifiers. All right. The target moved, but he has a rangefinder. That is a ballistic computer that automatically ranges the target. Also, because he's within that short range, his skill of 60 is multiplied by 0.6. So let's do a little bit of math here. Where's the cotton picking mouse? $60 times 0.6. So his base to hit number is not 60, it is 36. However, and again, he has a laser, or he has a range finding computer. And he's using that, and that adds 40. So when all is said and done, let's see. When all is said and done, I just I want to make sure of something. I just want to check one other modifier. If the other modifier does not kick in, he has a base of 76. Okay, so the target moved more than 30 meters. At least I think he moved more than 30. I think that's way more than 30 meters. So the base to hit number is halved. So 76 divided by half, 70 is 33, so, or 35, 38. So we're going to shoot needing a 38. Very scary. All right. That did not go well. His first shot, he's got the jitters. He misses. So what the BMP crew does, actually, we'll go to the Soviet tank. All right, so same distance, it's short. His base is 50. The target has some concealment. Target obscured. The base hit numbers halved. Let's just roll it and see if it matters, like we do in AD&D. Well, it might, and this fight could be over before it even starts, because we got a 20. So he has a rangefinder. That's plus 40. His skill is 50. That's 90. Well, hang on. His skill is 50 times 0.6. I think that, let me see. $30. Okay. So his base hit is 30. Rangefinder. Yep, that's a hit. So where did we get hit? Let's find out. LAV 75 is about to go up in a fireball. So we consult the vehicle damage location. And according to this, it is 40. Ouch. So this is going to be 4d6 times that gun's damage. This is a large caliber gun, 125 millimeter. $35 times 4d6. We may not need to bother rolling hit locations and so on. Yeah, kaboom. A hit there will detonate the vehicle. But let's assume for just a minute, let's fight one more combat round with it. Let's assume that shot misses. All right, so weapons with a damage multiplier instead of a base damage number inflict damage equal to 4d6 times their multiplier at close range. Yeah. You went kaboom. Well, let's fight on. We'll say there's another LAV 75 with them. Why not? Otherwise, tonight would end just like that. All right, so the BMP acts by popping smoke. So now the BMP is obscured. In the next round, the BMP's infantry detachment, or well, rather in this round, so the commander pops smoke. In this round, the infantry in the BMP begin to debark. That is, they're getting out. So let's shoot back from the LAV. All right, he's not moving. And just for shits and giggles, we're saying he's still alive. So he hits that firing stud again. $38. That is low enough. Okay, so the reason I did that was because I wanted you guys to see how damage actually works rather than the target simply going to there's no point. So the hit location, again, is on the front. But where on the front? Well, we've got to roll a d10 and see exactly where. Vehicle hit location, front. Let's roll a d10. And you know, that shot on the LAV might have passed through the turret and damaged some stuff. Let's just assume that it did hit the turret and it hit where the commander would have been, but the driver is down in the hull. So that's what we'll go with. 2. Okay. So this is on the front. This is a 2. This is right. And LH, lower hull. Right lower hull. So right lower hull on the T80. Or T90 rather, my mistake. Right lower hull. 220. Okay. Let's roll our 4 times damage multiplier. Now, the Lab 75's autocannon halves armor. So the armor protection, and this is true of almost all armor-piercing, fin-stabilizing, discarding sabot rounds. That is, they're metal darts that fly at hypervelocity speeds instead of chemical explosives designed to blow holes in. They bore little holes in and then break into pieces and do a shotgun effect on everybody inside. All right, so Lav 75. 75 millimeter for APFSDS is 15 times. Oh my. So that's 20. So let's see what happened there. So we go all right. We halved the armor with an APFSDS shot. And I swear to God, I wanted to have vehicle sheets out for this. I apologize. Lower hull front on the T90 is 220. So it's 110, and we did 300 points. So 190 points of damage just tore into the tank. So what is there? Well, driver, gunner, let's see. Ammo, radio, let me see, hang on. Suspension, engine, and fuel. Each one of those has a damage multiplier. Now, that does not add to my damage, that subtracts from my damage. So the first person, the driver, he basically gets vaporized by that shot. He is dead, which if he was not a non-player character, we would make some damage rolls and we would say, oh, well, you know, maybe it took this much, maybe it didn't take. But he has, he's effectively out of the fight. So the next component is the gunner. Same thing. Next component, ammo. Now we're getting into some interesting stuff. So the ammo carousel in the base of the hull of this thing has been penetrated. Let's go over to vehicle combat and see what happens. Ammunition hits. Whenever a vehicle takes an ammunition hit, the percentage damage suffered is also the percentage chance that the ammunition will blow up. So, what does that mean? Well, we've already punched through, and a certain percentage of damage has been absorbed by the crew. So it's 1d6 times 1d6 for each person. So the first person takes 3 hits. Takes 2 hits to every location of their body. He didn't go squish. The gunner takes 24 hits to every location of his body. So there's 76% basically of the damage left that is now going into the ammunition. So a 76 or less, and the ammunition will detonate. 8. The T90 blows itself apart and is now a burning wreck. Okay, but what about the BMP? Well, the LAV cannot see it. The BMP has deployed its infantry, and we'll use this D4 to represent the infantry, who have moved basically back into the bushes. In the next combat segment, the BMP will move forward through the smoke. Actually, no. Taking note of where the crew is, the BMP will reverse and try to gain some cover and support the BMP crew. But they still can't see the LAV for the smoke. So the LAV crew crunch. So the LAV crewman, the lone Lavadier, cannot see the BMP. He can hear it, but the BMP crew fired their grenades, and so that smoke is going to persist until the end of this round. Not wanting his own infantry team to basically get attacked by the BMP, the LAV crew is going to pull out of their prepared fighting position. Well, we'll just have them drive forward. How about that? They'll drive up out of their prepared fighting position and move, let's see, at this scale, .30 millimeter, 1.5 inch. So the LAV will move here. I'll make an easy driving roll just to make sure that they don't high center on anything. Yeah, he's fine. Okay. Now, at this point, although there is some obscurement, the BMP crew can see the lav. We are in combat segment. Let's see. Fired, back, moved, deployed infantry moved. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, a couple of things. The BMP crew and the lav crew have to take hesitations because of battle fatigue, because of shell shock. Dungeon Minister says, bedtime for the boys here. I'll be checking back later. This looks like a good time, though. Thank you. Thank you, Dungeon Minister. Ron Redmond says, 08. Ouch. Yes. Okay. So they both have to hesitate. And they both have to take lots of hesitations, 2 apiece. So now, at the end of the round, the smoke is gone, and they have clear sight of each other. They are both going to fire. Knowing that there might be tanks ahead and knowing that that is a lav, the BMP team will fire their, I believe it's a 2A6 autocannon. But of course, the lav is going to chuck some more rounds at them. Hail, Michael Connor. Good to see you. So it is again short range, but he moved, so his 2 hit is halved. So his base 2 hit, which we know is 36, is halved. It becomes 18. Add in the rangefinder, it's 48. So he fires 22. That is a hit. Now, he had not switched the carousel, so this might not, that is the ammo feed. He had not switched the ammo feed from armor piercing, fin stabilizing, discarding Sabo. So this is going to be 4d6. It's going to have the BMP's armor. Another pretty good roll. 13. So 13. And this is on the front. So we roll our location. That is a 9. Center. Turret front. He pots one right into the BMP's turret. Now, the armor on the BMP-2, or BMP-B for Baker, as it's called. Have I ever heard of Dungeon Crawl Classics? Yes, I've heard of Dungeon Crawl Classics. So the BMP turret, let's see, BMP turret front. Not a lot of armor up there. Where are we? Okay. Turret front is 20. We did 13 times, 20 is 200. Okay, so that's going to go tearing through the turret. And what is up there in that turret? Oh, do we get anything? So damage locations. Oh, so center turret front, 20. Right. Okay. No, we're good. So what is up there? The missile launcher. That is the first thing. And that is a 5 times damage multiplier. And the hull had taken 10, and we said it was 200. Okay, so this is now 13 times 5 for the missile launcher, so that halved. The next item in the turret, where is it? There it is. X. What does X stand for? Gunner's machine gun is also 5. All right, so that takes a big chunk of damage out of it. What is W? W is main weapon. All right. And if the main weapon takes more than 10% of its damage, it's non-functional. And I think that is going to main weapon. So that's 10. That's 130. There's not much more damage left. So let's see. How much more in that turret? And the gunner. All right. The gunner takes a D6 times a D6. 6 times 2 is 12 to all locations. And the gunner is in shock and unconscious. He is not able to act. The commander, the main gun is out. The missile launcher is out. All the commander can do is spray and pray. So now the lav is going to fire again. He's not moving, and he's going to take careful aim, which will double his 2-hit chances. So his 2-hit percentile goes from 36 to 72 with the rangefinder. It's all but a fait accompli. And he loads heat. He selects heat out of the ammunition carousel. Now, if it seems like the lav is firing every round, it is. The lav 75, the HSTV-L, has a fully automatic gun. It is fed from an ammunition cassette deep inside, or an ammunition carousel deep inside the belly of the vehicle, rather like Soviet vehicles. So we're firing a heat round. This is continuous, but it doesn't matter. Now, what do I mean by continuous? Okay. Kinetic energy rounds, like armor-piercing, fin-stabilizing, discarding sabot, lose effectiveness over range. They do 4 die 6 up close, 3 die 6 at medium, 2 die 6 at long, and 1 die 6 at extreme. At this range, he could have fired a sabot round, and it would have had the same effect. But he chose to fire heat. And you got to respect that. So he's firing a heat round, 75 millimeter heat. 15 times continuous. Armor effect is nil because it's forming a jet to burn through. We don't worry about knockdown and burst because he's not that close. He's not. It looks like he's close to the infantry stand, but that's really about 8 or that's like, it's an inch. Oh, that would be many meters. We're not going to worry about it for right now. Now, all is not over for the Russians. No. But let's roll that 2-hit. 63. That's a hit. So it's 15 times 4d6. Oh, that roll sucked. So that's 12. 15 times 12. So that's 180 points to his 8. Vehicle front 8. So this is right turret front again, and we pretty much know everything that's in the turret. The turret essentially doesn't, it lost 10%. Okay, so it's gonna lose. Let's see. Sorry, got distracted. 15 continuous. Should have fired an HE at him, but then armor would have come into effect. All right. Oops. Went the wrong way. Had the silly thing in reverse. Oh, right and left turret front. That's a miss. That round goes sailing off. Okay, well, he's going to fire again. .78 is still a hit. Location 3. Sometimes you can, quote unquote, hit a location, but your shot will go sailing through to no damage. Oh, we have some span. I'll take care of that in just a few minutes. It seems like tonight, if I didn't have spammers, I wouldn't have much chatter at all out there. All right. So we rolled a 3. And that is left lower hull. So left lower hull on the BMP. So 50 points. Oh, I guess I should roll damage. 7, 12, 14, 15. 15 times 15. So 225, 50 of it come off, 175 points left. So let's see. Left lower hull. Driver takes 15 points of damage everywhere. Does not remain conscious, goes straight into shock. Commander's starting to see the wisdom of getting the hell out of this thing soon. But will he be able to? Commander, not in time. 18 points everywhere. He goes into shock. Radio. 2 times damage absorption. So let's see. That's 15 is 30. So there's 145 points of damage left. A is ammo. This is autocannon ammo, so I don't know if it goes kaboom. We're about to find out. Small arms ammunition. Ammunition for pistols, rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, and machine guns will not explode. Grenades, anti-tank mines, and large caliber rounds will. When a vehicle takes an ammunition hit, the percentage damage suffered is also the percentage chance that the ammunition will blow up. All right. Counts as an ammo hit. Yes, the BMP explodes. And is now on fire. Now, this team that had gotten out of the BMP actually has a pair of RPGs. That's right. They have RPG 16s that have a range of 150 meters. So the question becomes, are they close enough at this scale? Let's see if I can find my tape measure. Here we go. There's one that I got from DreamPod 9. We are going in millimeters, so we are going from so it is 54 millimeters. 54 millimeters. Sorry, I don't know what that is in freedom units. All right. So 54 millimeters, but I do know that at this scale, 1 foot equals 3 millimeters. It's not. No, that's not right. One moment. I'm sorry. That is that was incorrect. That was 54 centimeters, not millimeters, which is just outside the envelope for that RPG. In fact, let me see if I can find a guy with an RPG so it looks a little sexier, yeah? Okay, so they will move, the Soviet unit will move. And they're going to move about 2 inches. So let's see. Can they move that far? Well, you know what? We'll say that they're going to move 30 meters. They're going to displace and move 30 meters. And that is actually about right. So they're spending the entire rest of this round and part of the next one moving 30 meters. And they are experienced, so they do have to take a couple of hesitations. But they will get a shot off, possibly. Meanwhile, this infantry with their machine gun is going to see if they can take the Soviet infantry under fire. Well, I said it was an M60. I don't really have the M60 stats, but all right. That is nowhere near long enough. We'll just go ahead and call that the end of the round. Everybody takes their hesitations. The Lav will have to move if he wants to take them under fire. So he's not going to. Well, no, he doesn't. he's going to go ahead and fire a heat round in their general direction. He's going to waste an anti-tank round. Oh my. Well, that is a hit. But it's a group of them. So what kind of a hit is it? Let's look at 75 millimeter heat. It has a burst. And in this case, the burst radius is everything in a hex that can be affected. Or not in a hex, in a radius that can potentially be affected. So the burst radius is 10. Let's see where the round lands. 9. Well, I mean, it shouldn't scatter. It was a direct hit. Okay, so it has a knockdown radius of 2.5. It's a hit. He was aiming at one of them. We'll say one of the two with an RPG. So let's look up knockdown. And what does that do? Explosives and explosions on page 6. All right. So they're not really in any cover. Ooh, lucky for them. So believe it or not, those guys are actually okay-ish. But he's still got 3 shots. Well, 2 shots, rather, and then he has to take hesitation. All right. That's a hit. And that's a hit. I will give them their return RPG shot just for shits and giggles, but I think we're pretty much ready to close the books on this encounter. You know what? 22. They're at short range. That's times 6. He has some cover. He hasn't moved. They did move. Let's check it out. RPG 16. They are. Let's call it a hit. Before they died, did they take out the Yankee Tanky? 3. Left lower hull, Lav 75. That might be where he's at, because he is in the driver's seat. This is times 25C. So let's see. That's 8, 11, 16. Uh-oh. Times 25. Let's see. Oh yeah. That's 400 points of damage. We're going to find everything out about what just happened. Lav 75. Lower hull left 40. That's 360 points. First hit is driver. He takes 10 points to every location. Actually stays conscious, though. C is commander, no commander. Keeps on flying. A, ammo. There's 74% chance the ammo will go. 99. The ammo does not cook off. So he lost his main gun ammo. He's still conscious. Where'd it go? There it is. Suspension. See, 30 times. And the suspension basically stops it. So the suspension takes a hit and it is 100% damaged. So it basically blows the track off, does not blow up the vehicle, wounds him, and the Russians are dead. Thus ends the battle. So the infantry will patch up the Sarge, likely rig the Lav for demolition, and then get west on foot as quickly as possible. I'm going to move the camera a little bit while we wrap up. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So that is Twilight 2000. That is Twilight 2000, man-to-man and man versus tank combat. What did you guys think? Takes a few minutes to get going. It takes just a few minutes to kind of get rolling. Michael was talking about DreamPod 9. Yeah, they were back in the heady mech days of the 90s. They were a dark horse force. They were out there. They were challenging. They were tipping at Battletech. They got 2 computer games and a TV show out of their property. Mechs were hot in the 90s, even the very early 2000s. But, people's tastes change. Let me just get rid of these. Here, let's just block you. We will block you. So there we go, guys. There we have it. A little demonstration of combat in the post-apocalypse. as I said, it can get a little strange. It can get a little wonky from time to time, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Mobius says it's definitely not what I thought it was. Well, what did you think it was? So the question I have for you guys then is, Jovian Chronicles was a better story. I think that's debatable. I think that's debatable. I think we can make the case that Heavy Gear had kind of a richer story. But I did like the fact that in Jovian Chronicles, they were at least willing to say, you know what, this is it. No faster than light drive. It's just inside the solar system. That's it. Keeping things local. Now, later Heavy Gear storylines, with the Earth coming in. Now, they pretty much set up the game that, you know, I can't remember the byline, but basically it implied that the people on Terra Nova, the jig was up. There was no future for them. Not a peaceful future. Yeah, the sweatshirt. My in-laws got this for me once upon a time. And Jovian Chronicles was more of a, almost kind of a medieval, like, warring factions of 14th century Europe, but writ large kind of thing. Mobius says, I thought it was more role play than miniature based. Now, when it comes to combat in Twilight 2000, I've run it role playing, and there have been a few disputes over, well, you said this was rolling terrain, and I should have been able to get an enfilade in my tank, or we should have been able to duck down. And I'm picturing rolling terrain like, contour lines like a kilometer apart. And my players thinking of it like, ant hills and berms and stuff like that. So in the case of Twilight 2000, it can help to have at least a battle mat, even if you're going by hexes rather than counting with a ruler and that sort of thing. But I mean, there you have it. That's Twilight 2000. So while I'm thinking about this, I didn't realize that went on pretty long. I guess my preamble about the printing disaster ate up more time than I had intended it to. But I want to take a moment. I want to thank our Patreons. Let's give a big round of applause for our Patreons. Digital Discord, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Joseph Lucas, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damian X 247, James F. Keck, William Smith, The Dungeon Minister, and Manny Wall. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really do. It helps out, guys. I gotta tell you, it helps a fella out. And I'm really, really glad that you guys participate, that you watch the streams, that you give me a chance to play with toys. That's fun. I mean, why else print up a bunch of Cold War era tanks and drag out a bunch of trees and sweep all my Dwarven Forge out of the way and so on, if not for that? So I appreciate it, guys. I really, really do. And if you've ever got any questions, if you want to see more Twilight 2000 combat, like man to man, just, okay, Bill, put the tanks away. You had your fun. You shot up some tanks. Put the tanks away and let's do some role-playing stuff. But when I had set up the let's play for tonight, it was really to show off the vehicular combat, which is very fiddly and very greebly, as you saw. I mean, I played it many times, game mastered campaigns, and I was ahhing and umming. And I apologize for that. There's still places where it trips me up when it comes to things like, okay, how much percentage of damage from the heat warhead does the body of the driver absorb? And then we go to the next level and say, okay, it hit the driver. It took off 13 points. Now let's go to the radio. How much does the radio absorb? Well, it's 15 times the amount of damage. And then you got to figure out what percentage of the total damage remaining that was. So you got to have a pocket calculator out. Well, I'm glad you like the tanks, Mobius. As I said, printing them was a bit of a fiasco. But I did it for you guys because I care about you guys, because I wanted you guys to see something fun tonight. Once you get down to the battlefield combat, yeah, it definitely becomes its own thing. It definitely becomes a pen and paper tank or man-to-man combat simulator. It turns into the Battlefield video game, but pen and paper and pretty fiddly. And this was just like one U.S. tank versus a couple of Warsaw Pact vehicles. Imagine if I had said, well, they're going to hold off a company, or they're going to try and hold off like a real company. Because remember, at this point in the war, two tanks two armored vehicles, in this case, a tank and a BMP, are pretty difficult, are pretty difficult, are pretty much a powerful unit. That's what I'm trying to say. Mobius says, it seems like it would make a decent foray into miniature combat, though. It's not bad. And the fact that it has the role-playing game element baked onto it, you can have a little bit of fun. You can have a little skullduggery and, the whole, save our village from marauders. We can do that. We've got an M113. We've got a 50 cal. We've got a couple of law rockets. We can be the Magnificent Seven for you guys. Heck yeah. The fiddly nature of it seems like part of the point. Yes. I think you're absolutely right. Having to move and paint companies and minis. Yes. Now there's a whole different game that Games Workshop came out with called The Last Battle, and it has a bunch of scenarios in it that are based on events that happen in the run of classic Twilight 2000 modules. And it's an actual abstracted combat system for men and tanks, and a few other vehicles. And maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll play that one day. We'll do a let's play of that. Michael Connor says, in real life, there's an anti-tank personnel missile that disperses discs at spin. Yes, that is that's actually in Twilight 2000. When it was being developed, it was called the Assault Breaker. And so basically, if your unit was being overrun, you could call in an Assault Breaker missile, and it fires these projectiles. They look like skeets that you shoot, like clay pigeons. They have a little radar on the bottom, a little proximity radar, and when they're falling, they're kind of doing this wobbling thing. And what they're doing, they're designed to wobble because they're looking in a conical space. And if they see an armored vehicle, They explode, and they're an EFP, explosively formed penetrator. The bottom of them is convex, and it's lined with copper. And when the explosion goes off through what's called the Monroe effect, this shallow cone collapses, turns the copper into a penetrator rod, which is then flying at several percentage of the speed of sound, a high percentage of the speed of sound, basically like a hot bullet made of copper. Now, a lot of people think that it melts through the target or that it burns through the target. It doesn't. It is still a kinetic energy round. It just makes itself on the spot. If there was no jet of copper, or some warheads have been known to use silicon or glass, if it was just the explosion, yeah, that would do it, and it would be terribly ineffective. Just a jet of plasma would not do it. But in this case, the plasma crushes the copper, superheats it, elongates it, and pushes it forward. And they use them in several types of missiles. Some people call them they're mines, they're minelets, they're bomblets, and they're illegal. Well, no, they're not, because they explode when they go over. And most US cluster munitions like that have an expiration date. They literally just go bad. So they do the thing to make them work. When they hang them under the airplane or they stuff them in the artillery tube, then they fire them and they land, or they explode over the target. And if they don't find anything when they hit and they slam into the ground, they spoil after a very short period of time. So 40 years later, somebody doesn't kick one and lose a leg. But things like that are modeled in Twilight 2000. There are submunition rules. Right when this game was being created, there was a weapon that they hadn't come up with an official name for called Tank Breaker. And it was basically as smart as a really smart Sidewinder missile. And it would fly up really high and then come down hard on the top of a tank. And it was fire and forget. You had a little TV unit that you carried around with you. Well, it's called a CLU, Command Launch Unit. And it had a thermal camera, or it has a thermal camera on it. And it's got a great optical zoom. And when your missile locks onto the heat source from the tank because they're running their engines, or they're driving along, which would constitute running their engines, or it's just a hot day and the metal of their tank has gotten hotter than everything else, then you fire it, the missile goes, and then you pack up and run. So if it's 3 kilometers away, you're already down the road before it hits and goes boom. You're not sitting there having to look through the TV screen like as if it was a tube-launched, optically guided, wire-controlled. So it was under development at the time of the writing of Twilight 2000, and they were calling it Tank Breaker. Now we know it is the Javelin missile, and it is really common, and it is really deadly. And it's good even for not tanks. As they found out in Afghanistan, if the bad guys are deep inside a cave, and they've got a fire to heat their tea, you're sitting far enough away, kind of looking down-ish into the cave, but you can't visually identify them, a javelin can see, and it will go get them. But I hope you liked it, guys. I hope you found it as much fun to watch and listen and see the miniatures and see the terrain as I did setting it up. I am sorry the miniatures weren't painted, and I'm sorry my combat acumen was not what it might have been, but I did what I could. So we have some events coming up this week. We have tomorrow, Kyle will be here. That's right. Kyle Schuant returns, and we are going to do another Let's Play. We're going to do Let's Play Ship-to-Ship Combat in Traveler from the same company that brought us Twilight 2000, Games Designers Workshop. And then later Tuesday night, we're going to be returning to Castle Greyhawk, not return to Castle Greyhawk, but we'll be returning to my Greyhawk campaign with our Tuesday night Let's Play AD&D live stream right after the Tuesday night Wastrel Wednesday with Kyle. And then Wednesday, my buddy is going to stop by here. That is Mr. Philip Sokolov will be here. And we're going to talk about his role-playing game, live stream, webcast, podcast thing that he does, and whatever it is that Phil wants to talk about. Now, Thursday evening should be special because the Dungeon Minister, that's right, stand up and take a bow. The Dungeon Minister will be in the house, and we're going to talk about a subject that is near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about alignment, the nature of good and evil in D&D, and the question of the redemption of the evil character. This is something that I've been champing at the bit to dig in and talk to, and I could not think of a better person to have on the show. So Dungeon Minister will be here on Thursday. We're going to be talking about that. And then Friday, of course, is just open mind on Friday. Try not to get weepy about Passed on Friends. And then late Friday night, Gamma World. We will return to Gamma World and find out what the group is going to get up to. What are my thoughts on DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics? Well, it seems to me to be an okay product. I think I have DCC Basic around here. It's got a gorgeous cover art by Errol Otis. I think if you're, I don't want to sound like I'm slagging it. It's certainly better than a lot of the alternatives, but I think there's a lot of, look, this is my perception of D&D and how we did it at our table, ergo vibe to DCC. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It seemed a little too cute by half to me. I would play it. Let me tell you what, if there was a game master running it and said, hey, I'm running secrets, I'm running the slavers modules in DCC. Do you want to play? I would say sure. Absolutely. Why not? I love the slavers modules and it'll be neat to play them, particularly if it was with a good DM. Would I buy it and wholly convert my campaign over to it? No. But then, in DCC's defense, there's very few role-playing games that I would convert out of AD&D to go to. So make of that what you will. So I hope you will all join us for shenanigans and fun for the rest of the week. I have to get ready for my Monday night AD&D game, which is starting in just 40 minutes. That is not live streamed, by the way. If you're about to say, hey, where's that at? Somewhere else. So thank you everyone who stopped by, newcomers and oldcomers. Everyone who swung by, I appreciate it. I really do. And as I said, let me just check the numbers. Hopefully we haven't lost anybody. Nobody just gave up in disgust. Can't believe this. Why would I watch this guy's channel? So as of right now, we're at 922 subscribers on the channel. Guys, we're back up to 922, and I hope we stay there, and I hope we continue to grow. I don't mean stay there. I just mean we don't lose any more subs. I hope we just continue to grow. When we break 950, I'm going to start to sweat. I'm going to have to start thinking about when to really do the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. It's close enough. We can see its taillights up ahead, guys. We can see its taillights. It's not getting any faster, but we are, and we're going to catch it. So thank you, everyone, for being here, for being part of the show. Thank you, Mobius. Yeah, I gotta take Zeusy back to the vet tomorrow. Just poor dog's eyes, man. But anyway, we'll deal with it as it comes, and I'll keep you guys posted. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll return with Kyle, then we'll play some AD&D. Then the day after that, we'll have my buddy Philip. Then the day after that, the Dungeon Minister. And then on Friday, Gamma World and Open Line. Have a wonderful evening, guys, and I will see you all later.